Blue Eye Samurai is a show that looks gorgeous with an insane cast and some of the best action sequences I've seen in a long time, but the show also contains a lot of twists and turns and unanswered questions. So in this video we'll be taking a deep dive into its ending and explaining some of its biggest mysteries. But before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe, the Shogun demands it. Most of Blue Eye Samurai takes place in 1657 Japan, a period of isolation from the outside world known as Sakoku. During this time, Westerners were barred from entering the country, and children like our protagonist Mizu were treated like second-class citizens because they were half Japanese, half Western. This is why we'll often see Mizu wear these glasses to conceal her most telling Western feature, her blue eyes. The series' final episode begins with a flashback to the moment Mizu made her vow to track down and kill her father. She doesn't know who her father is, but she has narrowed it down to 4 men. One of these men raped her mother and was responsible for making her this half-breed monster, a source of all her life's strife. Additionally, her father is said to have engaged in the trade of young women for prostitution, as well as selling guns and opium. So she makes it her life's goal to kill these 4 men at any cost.
I am owed my revenge, and I will have it. At any cost.
We'll see that Mizu has a tattoo on her arm, a cross with a dot. The dot symbolizes one of the 4 men she's already killed, and it's assumed that each quadrant will be filled with a dot once she has killed these men. We never see Mizu kill this first man, and little is known about him. Abijah Fowler, the season's main antagonist, calls him Violet. With Violet already dead, Mizu moves on to Fowler, a white man held in an almost impenetrable castle. Because Japan does not allow Westerners, Fowler is essentially held confined in this building, but given almost any luxury he could desire because he's secretly helping the Shogun trade with the West, making the Shogun the 2nd richest man in the world. Fowler will ask to dine alongside the Shogun as reward for his good work, but is denied based on the color of his skin. This resentment has been building in Fowler for over 10 years, and thus he has orchestrated a coup to take down the Shogun, install a puppet leader, and rule Japan for himself. But how could one imprisoned man possibly take down one of the world's most powerful armies? Fowler's connections with the West allowed him to amass hundreds if not thousands of guns, something the Japanese do not possess. By aligning himself with Shogun detractors such as Heiji Shindo and Master Chiba, who have armies of their own, they can make quick work of the Shogun, who will be no match for this superior technology. To make matters more complicated, we have Princess Akemi, whose father married her off to the Shogun's 2nd eldest son, something she's not too pleased about. She learns from one of her handmaidens, a former prostitute, of this impending attack, and immediately tells her father in an attempt to warn everyone. But to her surprise, he already knows. In fact, he wants the attack to happen. If the Shogun and his sons are killed, that means Akemi will be next in line to the throne. The people will rally around her and he will become the de facto ruler of Japan. Akemi has never had a choice in her life. As a woman, she's merely been a pawn of men, her only purpose to make babies and establish alliances. At the end of the season, she finally has the chance to make her own choice, run off with her former lover Tegan or remain with her husband. Most of the season has seen Akemi searching for what she wants in life, and here she makes her decision.
I want to be great.
And she can only do that by remaining where she is. We've seen how Akemi is a master manipulator, and even though she is subservient to her husband, if she can control him, it will give her tremendous power.
I want to be in control of my life. Then take control of his.
The theme of what it means to be great is something espoused by almost every character. Ringo wants to be great at something, although he hasn't found out just exactly what that is. Mizu wants to be a great swordsman, and Akemi desires greatness. It's Akemi's longtime mentor, instructor, and friend Seki, voiced by George Takei, that ends up saving Akemi from her imprisonment. They even end up locking her father in a cell as Fowler's coup is set in motion. The last we see of her father, flames surround his cell during the Great Fire of of 1657, of which the last episode is titled. This is an actual fire that happened in Edo at the time, and estimates are that 100,000 people died. In the show, this fire is depicted as starting when Mizu tries to block Fowler's escape. It spread like wildfire considering most of the buildings at that time were made of paper and wood. No one knows how this fire actually started, but Japanese legend states that it was started accidentally by a priest who was cremating an allegedly cursed kimono. Fowler will later state,
"Biggest city in the world is burning to the ground as a blood sacrifice to your revenge."
The show encompasses themes of hate and revenge, taking the stance that violence only begets more violence. Mizu's quest for revenge has now resulted in the deaths of over 100,000 people. Had she never embarked on this quest, she would have never started the fire that killed so many, and that's not even counting the dozens of others she kills on her journey. Back to Akemi's father, the last time we see him, he's surrounded by flames, but we learn that he survived. Akemi says that he needs time for quiet recovery under her care, so it's possible he's severely burned and Akemi has other plans for him, possibly to make him suffer for what he did to her. With Fowler's men easily taking over the castle, they locate the shogun and his last remaining guards. For over 20 years, Fowler had been secretly brokering deals between the shogun and the West, making the shogun extremely rich while Fowler was treated like a second-class citizen. His plan is to install a new shogun who will open Japan up to the west. Fowler kills the shogun, but before he can finish off his kids, is attacked by Mizu, allowing the next in line to the throne to escape. Tegan here is able to kill Heiji Shindo, the man who tortured him at Fowler's castle. Tegan has had an interesting season. Whereas Mizu seemingly has no honor,
Honor is meaningless.
Tegan has too much of it. In episode 1, he's defeated by Mizu and humiliated by having his chignon cut off. He spends most of the season wanting to reclaim his honor by challenging Mizu to a duel. But I gotta say, there are a few moments where Mizu and Tegan bond where you kinda see a romantic connection brewing between these two. And now that the season ends with Tegan separated from Akemi, I wouldn't be surprised if he follows Mizu on her quest to London. But the season's biggest reveals happen during the epic showdown between Mizu and Fowler. Mizu has spent the majority of her life training for this moment. She could kill Fowler, but decides not to. That's because she'll need Fowler to hunt down the two remaining men she's vowed to kill. The two men are not in Japan, but London, England. In their brief conversation, we get a bit more information about these men and Mizu's past. First, Fowler himself isn't sure if he's Mizu's father, stating that he thought he accounted for all his bastards. We also get the names of the two other men Mizu are after, and both of them have physical qualities that could make them Mizu's father. There's Skeffington, a tall man, and Routley, a man with pretty eyes. The final shot of the season is Mizu on a boat with an imprisoned Fowler. Now, we aren't sure if season 2 will start immediately in London or if it will follow Mizu's journey to get there. A trip from Japan to England in the 1600s would entail countless stops along the way. I should also mention the question of Mizu's mother. Fowler tells us that she was murdered when Mizu was a baby. But how can that be if we saw her when Mizu was an adult? In episode 5, Mizu finds that her mother is still alive, but it's actually not her mother at all. It was the maid who was paid to take care of her until she chucked Mizu aside when the money ran out. This woman was an opium addict and prostitute, so when Mizu arrives as an adult happy to see her quote-unquote mother again, she sees this as an opportunity and continues the ruse of being her mother, eventually marrying Mizu off to a lord where she can live a much more comfortable life. It can therefore be implied that it was this woman who turned Mizu in for her bounty in episode 5 and not her husband. So we can see that Mizu's life has been one of constant betrayal. No wonder her heart is so full of hate. She cares for nothing but revenge, even if it means hurting those around her. If she's going to grow as a character, she'll need to heed Master Eiji's words, that the soul has two chairs, one for good and one for evil, and if you're not whole, the demon will take both. It will be interesting to see how Mizu's journey to England will shape her as a person. Will she let hatred consume her, or will she find a greater purpose to her life than revenge? But now I turn it over to you. What did you think of Blue Eye Samurai? I want to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.